We have Ken Clarke now, who is the father of the House, which means that he is the longest-serving MP in the House of Commons. It's interesting because he was going to stand down at the next election, as in last time he said, I'm standing down at the next election. Of course, Theresa May unexpectedly called this one early, and he just couldn't quite bring himself to give it up. So he's come back again, and finally, I think he was elected in, now hang on, what was it, 1960?
I was just trying to remember that myself. I was thinking about that very
it was very interesting because obviously this is all happening. He is an ardent Europhile, completely, you know, on the Conservative side. Out of all of them, he was the one Tory who voted against Article 50, and we all wondered whether that would be the last thing that he did as an MP. But you know, he's back, and I wonder how much of it is because of what's going on. He's come back, and he made the point that when he first joined the Commons, Harold Macmillan had just set in place the joining of the common market, and he felt that he was coming to the end of his career and it could be the time when we were leaving. And now he's back, just showing how, you know, uncertain everything is, possibly thinking this can all be revisited now. So there he is. He's been there a very, very long time.
Order.
Kenneth Clarke, Father of the House.
Under the provisions of Standing Order number 1A, I am now required to ascertain whether John Bercow is willing to be chosen as Speaker. I call Mr. John Bercow.
Thank you, Mr. Clarke. What a pleasure it is to welcome you back to this place. As you add the accolade of Father of the House to the many achievements of your long and distinguished career. Next Sunday, you will mark 47 years continuous service to your constituency of Rushcliffe, to this chamber, and to our country as a whole. You are held in great affection and esteem on both sides of the House. And I am sure that I speak for all colleagues in wishing you well in your new role. If the House so permits, I shall be honoured to serve as Speaker in this Parliament, which, thankfully, across the parties, is more richly diverse and representative of modern Britain than any of its predecessors. I will strive to ensure that all parts of the House are heard fully and fairly, and, as always, I will champion the right of backbenchers to question, to probe, to scrutinise and to hold to account the government of the day. Finally, Mr. Clarke, I referred admiringly to your 47-year tenure. It may come as a relief to colleagues to know that I have no pretensions to seek to serve for anything like so long. Either as a parliamentarian or indeed in the chair as Speaker. That said, we appear to be destined for testing times. I offer myself to the House as a tested Speaker.
May I thank you, Mr. Bercow, for those kind and flattering remarks, particularly referring, as you repeatedly did, to my longevity, which is about the only non-controversial fact you can assert about my parliamentary career. I call upon Mrs. Cheryl Gillam to move the motion.
I beg to move that the Right Honourable John Simon Bercow to take the chair of the House as Speaker. And can I start by adding my belated congratulations to the Father of House, the Right Honourable Member for Rushcliffe. He took over earlier this year when we sadly lost another member of the 1970 intake, the very well-respected Sir Gerald Kaufman, of whom the leader of the opposition said he loved life and politics. And I can honestly say that that can be said of you too. And as Mr. Bercow said, having served in all of the departments of state, virtually, and all the great offices throughout your long and distinguished career, it's a tribute to your record of public service and your resilience that you preside over the opening proceedings of our Parliament today and the election of a new Speaker. Whilst welcoming all my colleagues returning to the House, who are naturally familiar with the Speaker's role, we are all pleased to welcome new members across all sides of the House. However, they may not realise that the Speaker's office under this name goes back only a mere 640 years. The Speaker was then the agent of the King and was afforded little protection. If the agent of the King offered bad news, he suffered the monarch's wrath, and no less than 7 speakers were beheaded between 1394 and 1535. Let that be a warning to you. Fortunately, the job description has changed since then, and our modern Speaker protects us and our rights as backbenchers without fear of losing his head. Except, I have to say, when members misbehave in this chamber. Now, compared to the Father of the House, and yes, with 47 years' experience, I'm just a youngster in this place, but over the 25 years I've served in Parliament, I've seen many changes. The Whigs have gone, except today one, for a state occasion. The hours have changed. Sorry, the Whigs have gone except 1 or 2. The hours have changed, the committees have increased, the technology has advanced, the media never sleeps, and the challenges of the job of the Speaker continue to multiply. And having been our Speaker since the 22nd of June 2009, I have seen the Right Honourable Member for Buckingham rise to those challenges and grow in this job. He has shown himself to be utterly impartial and fearless in defending the House of Commons from all comers, whether it be over mighty ministers or a raucous media. He is a determined champion of opening up our made Parliament accessible to over 100,000 school children each year. He is an effective Speaker who has used his office to reach out to people across our country. He is an energetic ambassador for Parliament throughout the United Kingdom and around the world, but he is also a devoted and hard-working champion for his constituents in Buckinghamshire. These are not my words, but the endorsements from the Right Honourable Members for Sutton Coldfield, Normanton, Pontefract and Castleford, the Leader of the Opposition and the Prime Minister. But my favourite endorsement is from the Right Honourable Member for Camberwell and Peckham, standing by the chair, who said on his reappointment in 2015 that he may be small in stature, but make no mistake, in the office of Speaker, he is a giant. Perhaps it's true, good things do come in small packages. For my own part, in proposing him for Speaker, I have always found him to be scrupulously fair, never allowing his views to compromise his impartiality. Although I think on all sides of the House we can agree he is no stranger to controversy. I think he annoys members of all the front benches from time to time, which is probably a testament to his even-handedness. He fosters a sense of community amongst those who work in the precincts and applies himself with vigour to all the many and varied tasks that fall to the role. But he also has qualities which many of us wonder at. His ability to recall obscure information on members. I warn you members of this. His loquaciousness and command of the English language. And in particular, please note, Father of the House, his ability to remain in the chair for inordinate lengths of time. The record being an 11-hour, 24-minute uninterrupted stint during the Syria debate, causing much admiring comment about the strength of his bladder. Camel-like qualities aside, his performance in the chamber is also matched by his record outside. He has hosted over 1,000 events for charities in Speaker's House and presides over the administration of this place with great patience and good humour, to which I can attest. This Parliament, like all that have gone before, will have its own character and present its own challenges. Over the next few years, our country will go through the great changes that people's democratic votes have presented to us in this House. And at the same time, we face the very real threats to that freedom and democracy and our precious way of life, which has been thrown so starkly into focus with the cyber attack on our NHS, the 2 unspeakable acts of violence during the election campaign, the death of PC Keith Palmer, and of course, the loss of our colleague, Jo Cox, who was taken from us all a year ago this week. As Speaker, he has always acted swiftly to join others with words and acts of reassurance, and I was proud to see him in Manchester, standing shoulder to shoulder with the community that had come under such lethal attack. In times like this, and in all our deliberations in this House, we need the experience, maturity and commitment to our Parliament, which I believe is shown by the Right Honourable Member for Buckingham. His devotion to this House and this country cannot be disputed. He has served this House and us as members with strength and fortitude, and I have great pleasure in commending him to the House to serve as our next Speaker.
The question is that Mr. John Bercow do take the chair of this House as Speaker. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Colleagues, before I take the chair as Speaker-elect, I wish first to thank the House for the honour that it has again bestowed upon me. I'm aware that it is the greatest honour it can give to any of its members. I pray that I shall justify its continuing confidence, and I propose to do all within my power to preserve and to cherish its best traditions. I want, if I may, just to say 2 other things. First, and yes, it's a repetition, but I think it's a justified repetition. Isn't it marvellous to see the Right Honourable and Learned Gentleman, the member for Rushcliffe, as Father of the House and back here in rude health? Yeah. And secondly, in welcoming the presence of all colleagues today and congratulating all those in all parties who have been re-elected, I hope experienced members will understand if I pay particular tribute to the, I believe, 87 members newly elected for the first time. Yes. Whatever else you have done or will do in the course of your careers, there will be no greater honour than that which you have just attained as an elected Member of Parliament. And I'm sure each and every one of you will be very conscious of your responsibility to your constituents. Rest assured, the Speaker will look out for you and be very keen, sooner rather than later, and more frequently rather than less frequently, to hear from you.